감사합니다.
오.
Well, 뷰어의 장국.
드실까요?
네. 잘 먹겠습니다. Do you know what I love to do with this? Get a little bit of rice.
Okay.
Just test the kummu.
Oh. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm good. This is perfect after a hard workout.
You go for workouts, man?
Yeah.
Nice.
Always, man. Always.
Every day?
Every day.
So Cedric, how has the last freaking 2 years been, man?
I don't know where to start, man. A big factor of me moving here was to just experience Korean culture in a way that I haven't experienced at home. I remember coming here actually quite arrogantly, like, you know, I know Korean culture. I grew up in a Korean household. And I come here and I'm like shocked. I'm like, oh, this is not what I thought it would be like. I discovered a lot. I discovered ultimately how much of Korean culture I didn't know.
Right. Over these last few years, what's kind of been the biggest shocks for you? So in terms of like really understanding Korean culture.
Making relationships with like native Koreans here, I thought it would be a little easier for me to relate to them than it has been.
Right.
One, because of language, you know, though I can understand and speak Korean up to a certain point, there's still like a language gap there.
Yeah.
And then just the way that Koreans here see the world is just far different than what I'm used to.
What is that?
For a lot of guys, for them to, you know, for me to be able to call myself a Korean, you know, that means I have to serve in the military.
Sure.
Whereas me, I view being a Korean as something that you essentially inherit and something that you grew up in, you know, culturally.
Yeah.
It goes beyond for me than, you know, the color of your skin or your genetics per se. Yeah, so it's been interesting. It's, you know, and like I said, it hasn't been a bad thing per se, but more of a shocking thing of, wow, I just didn't understand as much as I thought.
What would be the major comparisons you draw that you might not have perceived before living here?
Here, there's such a pressure to become something in society. You know, for many people, whether it be through education, getting that proper job, getting that position. For me, I don't think like that. I'm like, I want to be independent. You know, I don't want to care about what people think.
Sure.
Yeah. Last year, I was able to actually get hired at a Korean company.
No way.
Yeah, they brought me on as an in-house video and photographer dude. By most standards, it was a very Korean company. The mindset of like the workers, like they go to work and they do their job, which is fine, which is great.
Sure.
But you have the power dynamics of position and
the hierarchical structure.
Yeah, of course, and that's huge. I wanted to assimilate and adapt into that.
Yeah.
And I found that it was a little more difficult for me than I thought. There's that concept of nunchi, right?
Yeah.
And it's like at a Korean company, there's tons of nunchi going on. And for me, like, I had to be a little bit more observant and make sure that I don't offend people or make sure that, kind of like being politically correct in many ways.
Yeah.
I just wasn't used to it.
There's this unspoken way of doing things. And it's just like, yeah, you'll just fit into that. You'll just get it. But it's like, it's impossible.
Right. And so, you know, after a few months of working there, I started feeling a little, I guess, discouraged in many ways. Like, man, I don't know how well I fit here.
Sure.
You know? But it was a good learning experience.
What's been your happiest moment, you know, in the last couple of years living here? Most satisfied, you know, maybe it's a story, maybe it's a place, maybe it's a food.
It's actually a person.
Okay.
It's a person. The happiest moment was
you.
when I met Joel. Yeah, I was able to meet someone else who is very similar to me. Okay. So she's also half Korean, has been living here for a couple of years. And what makes me so happy is the fact that we can connect and relate. We share a lot of the same passions.
Sure.
And we really have a desire to impact and shape the narrative of the perception of half Koreans. Yeah, so we've been really just figuring how to do that together, really. It's been a joy. And she's been helping me out a lot because she's been here for 6 years. So
Right.
she knows the ropes a lot better than I do.
Yes, yes.
So helping me navigate's been great.
What about that is important for you, essentially, to bring to light?
A lot of times there is a perception that half Koreans are like beautiful in many instances. They're the models, you know, they're very fit to be models. No, come on.
You're running all the stereotypes.
Right. Those attributes are a lot of times praised for half Koreans, but in many ways they're not really accepted as Korean in society.
Interesting.
And this isn't a blanket statement because it doesn't apply to every Korean, obviously. A lot of Koreans embrace half Koreans as a Korean. You know, one of the things that we try to do is through creating content and sharing stories of other half Koreans is just showing they can be just as Korean as I am, or they can be multicultural, and we can accept them as who they are. After being here for 2 years, and though I know inside that I'm Korean, as well as African American, I still don't feel fully accepted as Korean. I just think it's interesting because now we're at a day and age where there's so much technology. The world is much smaller in a sense of access to travel, and there are more foreigners coming in these days. I feel like that definition of what it means to be Korean is starting to be questioned in a sense, or challenged.
Broadened, perhaps?
Broadened, yeah. So
It's funny because I come from London. It's like I read something the other day. It was like you've been in London for 2 years. It means you're a Londoner. It's like, well, okay,
Right.
Once you've experienced it, and that's who you are. You know, it's
Sure,
like you can
sure.
be whoever you want to be. It's kind of that's the ideology. But I guess the heart of it is, what is the importance of, I guess, the label or identifying as Korean?
right.
Your life hasn't been Korea. And so to return to it, there isn't an expectation to be that for
Right.
yourself.
Right. Because for me, I couldn't even tell you what I feel like would be ideal for me. Like in terms of,
Right.
would acceptance just be enough, or do I have to feel like I need to assimilate into society to a certain point?
Living here, do you feel, over 2 years, do you feel more Korean? Or do you feel like the things... Because in some ways, it's like I go back to the UK and I'm just like,
yeah.
I want to go for Jangguk.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, where's the kimchi? Why is there no panchan? You know, these little things. But at the same
Right.
time, I have these moments where, I don't know, a Korean person will say something to me and I was like, do you know why did you tell me I've put on weight?
Yeah, I think in one sense, I feel a little more Korean, or I should say I've gotten accustomed to how things are done here in Korea.
Right.
But in many ways, I feel like I'm less Korean. Things that I thought I would understand, or I thought I understood about Korean culture, I don't quite see the same way. I'm not as quote unquote Korean as I thought.
Right.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I am half Korean. I grew up with a Korean mom. I grew up influenced by Korean culture. There's a part of me that, of course, wants to be accepted, you know, as a Korean. But the other part is, it's cool because, like, I kind of get the best of both worlds.
Sure.
And whether someone sees me or views me or accepts me as Korean or not, I know that I am. And that should be all that matters. I'm not really, honestly, half of any of those. I'm just a whole person, and I have, like, such an influence from both cultures.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
But there are times, because I am living here, I'm just constantly reminded, oh, you're not Korean enough. As someone who's already in their 30s, you know, you would hope that all that was figured out by now, but, you know, it's still a challenge.
I think there's safety in not knowing, because we want to define ourselves. Like, are you left? Are you right?
Right.
Are you north, south? Are you east, west? Are
Right.
you this box or that box? Is this your preference? Is this your preference? Are you ENFP or introvert? Or, you know, what are, you know? We're always like, I don't know who I am.
Right.
And in some ways, the safest place you can be is being like you're saying. I'm a full person. I'm human.
Right.
It's like I don't need to be defined, you know, by my preferences. But that thing you were saying about belonging, I think that is intrinsically human.
There's nothing wrong with feeling like you want to belong to a certain group or belong to a certain society.
Sure.
Because I think that's innate within us. Like here, there are times where I feel like I do belong, but that's usually with my close group of friends. But then there are those times where I feel like I'm not as accepted. Like I'm always looked at as different. He's the half Korean, you know? I don't want to be special. I just want to be accepted. Where I grew up and the people that I was around, we all accepted each other.
Sure.
We celebrated the fact that, you know, one person was Hispanic, one person was like Puerto Rican, and another person was Mexican, one person was, you know, Japanese, Korean. That's what I feel like I'm probably lacking here from society as a whole. And I think that's probably why I have these little struggles within me.
Do you know when I felt accepted in Korean society? Was when I was punched by a emo at a shiktang.
Oh, really?
She just hit me, and I was like, I've just become Korean.
Yeah.
She felt that she could do that to me, and it was very small. But I was just like, wow, I felt really accepted there. Because actually there was this conversation going, this dynamic going on. I was like, oh, you know, and then she just hits me. She's like, ah, and I'm like, ah.
Right.
But it's just like, I'm Korean now. You know?
Right.
And you know, obviously I'm not, but I felt accepted.
I think those moments where, whether I'm going to a restaurant, Honeyjam, and I'm interacting with somebody who is a native Korean, and we're speaking Korean, without them batting an eye or without them feeling like they have to speak English to me, those are moments where I feel accepted. There are times where, and it's really sweet, it's like the older ajumas or ajishis that just really laugh with you, that smile with you, that try to have a conversation with you. Those are one of my favorite moments. But overall, I have way more positive moments. You know, I rarely have like those negative moments where I feel like, oh, Korea is totally discriminating against me or anything like that. When I'm interacting with someone that's my age or younger, and I tell them I'm half Korean, they're like, that's so cool. You know, 너무 신기하다. Their demeanor changes and they have this certain respect. And then they treat you as a Korean.
Right.
You know, those are the moments where I'm like, okay, I see hope.
Yeah. Mate, I think it's been an amazing conversation.
For sure.
Thanks so much for coming, having Joy Janguk, sharing your story with us. Yeah, maybe this time next year, or maybe even in 6 months, we can start keep exploring this. I think that'd be really cool.